Okay, I haven't done a He-Man list video in some time, so let's finally do a video I've been waiting to do for a while now, and as I'm still mulling over my top 10 She-Ra episodes, yes, I'm gonna do that. Just gotta get around to watching the last 2/3 of the second season. Let's rank all of Skeletor's henchmen from worst to best. Now for this ranking, I'm only including Skeletor henchmen who had more than one episode appearance. I'm not gonna waste my breath talking about fake core, strong arm, jitsu, or icer. I'm also going to go ahead and exclude Too Bad because he literally had 2 episode appearances and then a speechless cameo in the Christmas special. He would bottom out the ranking pretty conclusively anyway, so I don't really need to waste my breath talking about him. For the same reason, we're never gonna see a Best of Cyclone video either. And finally, this ranking is based on merit, but I'm not going to pretend that this is in any way objective. I'm just ranking these guys based on my personal tastes, because obviously I'm doing that. So enough blabbering, let's get to the bumbling boobs. Starting out rank 10, and obviously the bottom of the henchman pool for me, say it all with me, Amazon, I mean web store. The problem with web store is the fact that A, he's not particularly threatening or interesting, he's kinda lame, and B, he's not even particularly funny. Most of Skeletor's henchmen are at least pretty cool in what they do, even if they're not very interesting, but most then at least make up for being incompetent with at least being funny. Webstore is competent, but his power is that he has a rocket pack-bag that shoots grappling hooks and missiles. He doesn't actually do anything, and his quote-unquote powers aren't even linked to who he is. Did you know that Webstore is supposed to be a spider guy? You didn't? I wouldn't blame you. By far the most boring Skeletor henchman. And of course he kept cropping up all through season 2 because toy sales are more important than developing a personality. At number 9 we have the least interesting original member of the Council of Evil, Tri-klops. Now don't get me wrong, Tri-klops beats out Webstore by simply being one of the original 5 in Skelly's crew, but I'd be a liar if I said that Tri-klops would play a substantial role in any of my favorite episodes. He has his highlights, sure, and he's pretty gung-ho about going toe-to-toe with He-Man. But not only does he perhaps have the lamest power set of the original Council, he doesn't even get to use them very often. And then there's his personality. That is to say, Tri-klops doesn't have one. He's literally just a brute, and the only thing I find even mildly curious about him is that I'm pretty sure he and Evil-Lyn are sleeping together in season 1. At least he follows her around very obediently for no seemingly obvious reason. And I think that sums up Tri-klops well. When you're more memorable as the henchman to another henchman than you are for your own accomplishments, that's what gets you the number 9 spot. At number 8, feel the cold, clammy claws of Clawful. Clawful, I think, takes home the prize for the most criminally underused Skeletor henchman and the one who got watered down to a complete background character in the fastest way possible. For one thing, Clawful actually debuted as a solo villain teaming up with Trapjaw in Driel's Return, one of my absolute favorite late season 1 episodes, and he then had a really good one-on-one fight with He-Man in The Witch and the Warrior, another good late season 1 episode. And then he's just there in the background in a few season 2 episodes and gets tossed around by Duncan in the Fraidy Cat. How low can you honestly fall? Clawful was one of the best very late season 1 toy tie-in characters in that they actually made him very threatening and a worthy adversary for He-Man. But for some reason during season 2, he just kinda got thrown onto the pile of underused Skeletor henchmen. I'd hate to think that Whiplash and Webstore stole his spotlight, but I do have to conclude that this must have been the reason why he stopped being at all interesting at the start of the second season. But unlike the first 2 entries, at least Clawful had 2 solid episode appearances to his name. Do you know it's Spikor at position 7? Did I say something about underused Skeletor henchmen? Yeah, Spikor takes the cake and then some. He has got to be one of the most interesting late season 2 additions to the show who totally would have deserved more appearances. In his very first appearance in The Gambler, he's in and out of the episode in the same scene, and in The Visitors from Earth, he's literally just shooting the shit with Skelly. The reason Spikor makes it up this high is, however, his third appearance, The Games, which is also one of my 2 favorite episodes starring Fisto. I reviewed this in my second He-Man review series, but needless to say, Spikor is the frickin' star of this episode with his goofy line delivery, and thanks to Filmation pretty much sinking most of the episode's budget into animating him. Now Clawful was great, a bit of a wasted character, but he at least had his time in the sun. Spikor deserved to be the main attraction of at least a few more episodes, and we were all denied them. Not to say that there's a whole lot to Spikor, I mean, he's a pretty big dumbass, but there definitely would have been more hilarious situations they could have put him in. And just barely missing a spot in the top 5, another original councilman, Trapjaw. I feel kinda bad leaving Trapjaw out of the top 5, but rest assured he is by far the most accomplished of Skeletor's henchmen on this half of the ranking list. Called the Wizard of Weapons, Trapjaw is more or less the villain's equivalent to Man-at-Arms, though as we see in many episodes he can hold his own at times against He-Man. The duo of Beastman and Trapjaw is pretty much the most iconic henchman pair I always imagine on this show because I think they complement each other so well. But what really speaks volumes about Trapjaw's versatility is that other villains and henchmen actually hire him from time to time to do work for them. So if nothing else, Trapjaw has easily the second most impressive resume of Skeletor's henchmen. That being said, people might remember that on my top 10 He-Man characters list, I struggled a bit to come up with a good list of episodes that demonstrated Trapjaw as a solo villain because, well, to be honest, Trapjaw doesn't really have the most interesting personality. That's really the reason why he doesn't make the top 5. Now, him being interesting isn't a prerequisite for him to be entertaining because, trust me, I love seeing Trapjaw in any episode he's in. But just like Tri-klops, he's not really the main attraction. Swinging his tail for the lowest position in the top 5, it's Whiplash. Whiplash was one of the 2 excellent henchmen introduced during Season 2. He's ruthless and nasty, always up to no good. He's one of those characters who, without much fanfare, just immediately established himself in Skeletor's posse and did it so effortlessly. See, this is why Webstore sucks, because when you get down to it, Whiplash is really just a reptile man with a huge frickin' tail, but he acts scornfully, travels to Trolla for a solo appearance, apparently worships a demon lord, and is generally just way more versatile than even most of the original Council of Evil members. Okay. Are you getting the feeling that like this guy's a bit of an overachiever? So it's time for me to reveal the reason Whiplash just barely beat out Trapjaw, but really had no shot of getting any higher. A theme you've seen through here is characters who were great but didn't have a lot of episodes, and characters who aren't brilliant but at least got decent exposure. Whiplash is the first character on this ranking who is interesting, and who definitely had plenty of episode appearances. But it's easy to impress when the writers just shoehorn you into literally every other episode. So yeah, Whiplash is probably the only henchman here who has maybe more appearances than he deserves, but he is a genuinely good character. However, quite a few of his episode appearances could have easily been filled in by the other henchmen. So it's not like he's irreplaceable. And at the 4th seat, the only Skeletor henchman who's had a whole video dedicated to him by me, Cobra Khan. This entry really doesn't require much justification since you can just go check out my Cobra Khan videos to see why he's so awesome. Basically, he's the one Skeletor henchman who doesn't take shit from anyone, is always front and center, ready to take on the heroes, and he's got plenty of excellent episodes. It's honestly a bit sad that Khan only started appearing in the middle of Season 2 because I would have loved to have seen more of him. But it's not as if he didn't get his time under the sun, and he even had the honor of having the series finale episode be all about him. No two ways about it, easily the best new character from the 2nd season. Now it's time to gargle up a storm. At number 3, it's Mer-Man. Now, I have a lot of older videos where I relentlessly talk about Mer-Man in a negative way, and it's not really an act. I genuinely do think he's one of the less competent Skeletor henchmen around. At the same time, I kinda always hate how he undermines any seriousness in any episode he's in, and it's kind of annoying, especially during He-Man's first season, because he appeared in fairly serious episodes, such as Teela's Quest, which honestly ruins that episode for me a little bit. But I can't pretend like I don't like Mer-Man, because obviously I love all the goofiness in He-Man. As much as his ridiculous gargly voice is a detriment to any serious He-Man story, it does add a lot of comedy to any sillier He-Man episodes, such as one of my all-time favorites, The Search for the VHO. So I do have a lot of mixed feelings for Mer-Man. I do think he's genuinely kind of a pointless character, literally just the water version of Beastman. But then in a lot of episodes, he actually seems the most concerned for his fellow henchmen, and he's honestly kinda likable from time to time. So, Mer-Man's hard to love, but he's even harder to hate. He's just the classic He-Man villain, even if he is about as threatening as a shark on dry land. And the second highest ranking goes to the only female member of the Council of Evil, Evil-Lyn. I guess to the surprise of no one, Evil-Lyn is easily one of the best characters on He-Man, period. She's not just a henchman, henchwoman, she's actually the lead villain of a good number of episodes, and just like Trapjaw, doesn't miss an opportunity to work with other villains as well. Heck, other henchmen seem to just love working for her as well. Evil-Lyn's also teamed up with Teela, and she openly schemes to overthrow Skeletor, which actually makes her out to be a pretty solid character in her own right. The fact that Skelly doesn't consider this a threat is honestly a little puzzling. But in all seriousness, Evil-Lyn could have easily topped this ranking. She's both a central villainess through seasons 1 and 2, and almost never disappoints when she's around. But I knew that in my heart of hearts, only one Skeletor henchman truly deserved the #1 spot. And finally, #1, and obviously the best Skeletor henchman, the lovable fur-face himself, Beastman. Beastman is not only a permanent fixture of Skeletor's crew, he's the only Skeletor henchman who actually goes through a substantial amount of character development. Though he acts ferocious, the episode Brings Adam No More showed that Beastman is honestly a bit of a loser, and without Skelly, he's kind of out of luck. The best thing about Beastman is that he works so well with other henchmen. He's pretty much the most relatable of Skelly's crew, and he always has a great line or a solid joke saved up. And being easily the most abused of the Council of Evil, you can't help but to feel sorry for him from time to time. And he even shows up in She-Ra a couple of times, so that's pretty rad. So, kind of a predictable pick, but if there is one Skeletor henchman I'm always happy to see, it's Beastman. Until next time, I have the power, so can you.